thinking of it along the same lines.
Okay. 19 what?
2019.
And we are live.
You're on? Yes, I'm at the.
Excellent.
The meetings.
Okay.
Yeah, we sure did.
To be today.
No, I understand. Let me see if Sarah's coming. Has anybody talked to her?
No, I had not,
Thank you, sir.
you know, I just got back in
I
town.
think I've got the same one.
Okay, I'm sure.
Well, it's Sarah Hines.
Right.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Oh, David.
How are you doing?
Good.
Hey, Sarah, it's Doug. Yeah, right. It's starting here right now. So if you're available, great. If you're not, don't worry about it.
Also, I did send her a link if she wants to join by,
Okay.
video.
Ron can send you a link if you want to join my WebEx. Okay, thanks. Yeah, Ron, can you send a link?
Already did.
Thank you.
No.
Did you come up with some figures? You know what I asked you to?
No, actually,
That's all right, good.
I need to go back.
I'm something else, that's fine.
We'll hold off for a minute and see if Sarah's able to join by WebEx.
Different C one, it's just continuing with the two time. So,
No,
I'm sorry.
so.
I know you told me.
That's okay. So what I just got to do is figure out the difference between what the mayor has proposed. in
Right.
terms of one time of every, once a week on all all services. And at the, recycling and the garbage at the garage or whatever.
That's what it is right now. Yeah.
Whatever they call it, versus what it would be
Good curve.
at the curb, because I think they're getting premium. So, to try to do something out.
Doug, this morning I saw the city mail. That was a well-written.
It was wrong. It was wrong. I've got to send a correction, but thank you. I used all my advocacy skills, but I screwed up the dates, but we'll get it straightened out.
Oh, okay. The date being Monday? That day?
Yeah, Monday was wrong. Monday, it's going to be Monday or Tuesday, depending on who,
Okay, well, that
and
was
then the
good.
others will be different dates, but I'll get it.
That
This was a
that
case of
minor. The rest of it was very informative.
Well, this was a case of ready, fire, aim.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back and aim now.
You actually did better than that. It was well
Well,
done.
thank you.
I agree.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Thank you. I'm texting Sarah to see when she can join.
Okay.
Where's the audience?
I'm not sure, but
I suspected that, but I
that's my guess.
We'll give her just another minute, and then we'll get started. All right, it's 10:05. Sarah, I think, is going to join us by WebEx. We'll go ahead and get started and then catch her up. So first item, this is the June 27, 2023 special meeting of the council, City Council of the City of Prospect. The agenda is available, and the first item is to call the meeting to order, which I've done. Next item on the agenda is comments from citizens. We've got two distinguished citizens present, and you're welcome to speak if you choose. Okay, thank you. Thanks for being here. Mayor's report, mayor's update on city matters. So the reason for this meeting may have been a misapprehension on my part to move this quickly, but I had understood our last budget meeting when we adopted the budget. I had understood the majority of the council approved of the moving forward with the purchase of a police vehicle pursuant to the chief's recommendation. And that the only question was whether, Ron, Sarah says she doesn't have the link.
Tell her to check her Prospect email because I've sent it twice. So
Okay. Do you have her other email address?
I do not. It should be forwarded into it though.
I'm going to ask her to call you.
Today?
So my impression at the budget meeting was that the council, a majority of the council supported moving forward with the purchase of another police vehicle, but that they wanted that to be moved to a capital budget. And I may have misunderstood what the views of the council members were. And so if that's the case, I regret that. I know I spoke yesterday with a council member who thought we were talking about a vehicle for the chief. And I explained that that was not the case. The chief's new vehicle was purchased last year, and that vehicle had about 130,000 miles on it. So it was kept longer than the ones that they use here, that the officers use here in the city, because it is used in a different manner. I will tell you the chief uses it not just to commute, but to come in to assist with urgent matters. For example, I was here on the Sunday of the Kroger bomb threat, and he came by my office in not dress uniform, but in his uniform. He had come from home to assist with that whole situation, which he does frequently. So it's appropriate for him to have a vehicle. I think his decision on the timing of getting that vehicle was appropriate. But if the sense of the council is not to purchase that vehicle now, that requested vehicle now, that's fine. But that was the reason for trying to move forward promptly with this capital investment fund. And if that is not the sense of the council, we don't have to move quite so quickly, and perhaps we can take some time and address the question of whether a vehicle is needed or appropriate, or its purchase at this time is needed or appropriate. I will say respectfully, I think to some extent we're being penny wise and pound foolish. We've got $3.6 million in the bank. We've run surpluses the last 10 years. The budget I presented would have further added to the surplus. The budget is approved, depletes the surplus slightly. So I really question the thought process that goes into this. I think it's important for the council to have oversight but I just, we've got a chief with decades of experience and including extensive experience in managing budgets, including the budget that had the helicopters in LMPD, of managing a tremendous leadership role at LMPD and here for the last 10 years. So be that as it may, that's my point of view. The item on the agenda is a first reading of the ordinance. And if there's, we'll move to that agenda item now. And I'll see if there's a motion to approve that ordinance, excuse me, to give that ordinance a first reading. That would be in order now.
Make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Gibson has moved the adoption of the ordinance. Mr. Fulcher has seconded it. Is there discussion?
Yeah, I would like any of the components, one of the components of this ordinance to explain.
John, can you move up to the mic so we can hear you better, please?
That won't help you. It helps people on
Well,
WebEx.
If you speak up a little bit.
I would like somebody to explain why this is a good idea. We have operated the way that we do with a general budget for 49 years. I view this as a major change, and I'd like to understand why some of you think this is a good idea.
Yeah.
Second, if it is a good idea, I'd also like to know why you think it should apply not just to the coming fiscal year, but to all fiscal years, all future city councils, all future administrations, which putting this in an ordinance will do. That's it.
Well, John, I'll take a crack at helping you understand that the first thought is to separate the funds required in the annual budget to run the city, that the mayor and his executive team needs to run the city from capital budgets. And what we've done in the past, it's worked well in the past, but as life gets more complicated, all that gets commingled into to the budget. And for instance, in park enhancements, this was put in there $900,000, and there's other things in park enhancements that's more routine expenses. So it's an effort to separate the capital expenditures from routine operational expenditures, and that's pretty common in the rest of the world.
I understand that, but why is that a good idea?
Because it keeps clear what our operating budget costs are as opposed to what our capital expenditures
It
are.
is not rocket science. You can look at the budget and you can see what it is.
But you
You
gotta-
can look at the budget for half an hour and figure it out with a calculator, where this separates it so it's clear for everybody.
No, I disagree.
You've got to really study it long and hard, John, to figure that out. And this breaks it loose. Every city that I have worked in previously to this, Lexington and Cincinnati, have a separate operating budget and a capital budget. I understand that we are less complicated than cities of the size of Lexington and Cincinnati, but nevertheless, to allow the council and the public to understand our expenses going into the future better, I think having it separated into a capital account and a operating account is good. And we need to think about how to fund each of those sides of the house. And that's part of it going forward. To your second concern about if we do it 1 year, does that obligate us to doing it into the future? The answer is no to that. A new council can make any changes that we propose. We're just suggesting let's do it for a year, even though the language doesn't have it has it ad nauseum in it. But a new council can change anything that this council adopts.
Yeah, they can by repealing the ordinance, which takes 2 readings. It seems to me a bit awkward. I just don't see why you should be passing a law that binds future councils and future administrations, not just this year, but going forward to infinity. I think that's a mistake.
John, it provides a process. It provides a process.
No, it does more than that. It locks you in.
It locks us into a reasonable process for managing capital accounts.
No, I disagree.
So one question that I had that I provided, I think we forwarded to the main authors of the ordinance, Don and Frank, was this provides for a capital budget for the next fiscal year. This doesn't deal with our current situation. So under this ordinance, I would issue a call for capital projects after the 1st of January. And then capital budget would be presented to the council at the, at the budget, during the budgeting process. So there are a couple of things and based on the emails that I saw, I'm not sure that people are locked into that, but I think this isn't going to solve any short-term problems to the extent that there is a short-term problem. But I think that I would suggest that we consider some edits to this, and if anyone chooses to make a motion now, or if there's a second reading at that time, perhaps we can improve the draft that's before us. Frank, I think you had some good comments on the language, but those are my comments and my concerns.
Okay, my comments for discussion. In response to John, to me, it's a process issue and it's a transparency issue. I haven't seen the breakdown, and I've tried to analyze why we're kind of at loggerheads with some of this. And I think it has to do with whether you come from the private sector, the law background, or others. But in my professional experience, I mean, justification for capital was a rigorous process throughout my career. And all I'm asking, I haven't seen it. I don't know what options have been discussed. I don't know if any, or whatever, for the bridge, for the cars, whatever. To your point earlier about the police car, I don't think we denied a police car.
Yes, we did. There's no question we did.
We took it out. Well, we took it out of the.
No question we did. We denied
took it out of the operating.
Correct. So we denied it. Now, I'm trying to fix that to the extent it's fixable, but if that's not the will of the council, let me speak for just a second, David. If that's not the will of the council, we'll move forward. But I had misread the council apparently. I thought the support was there for the chief and for this police car to be purchased. If that's the case, we can address it. If it's not, we'll take some time and consider it further. To the extent people have questions, I invited Don, encouraged him to go speak to the chief about the budgeting process before it started. He declined. I know
What?
John Evans went and talked with him.
Whoa, back up. You invited me to do what?
Well, we were sitting in that conference room and I encouraged you to go talk to the chief about questions that you had about his budget. And you told me that you wouldn't do that. You told me that was an executive function, that I needed to do it. And I did go and talk to him and I was satisfied. John went and talked to him. He was satisfied about it. And apparently others are not. So that's fine. I mean, you asked questions of him in the council meeting. I mean, you had a discussion. So, but I invited you and encouraged you to speak to him privately. If I've misremembered our conversation, I apologize, but that's clear. That's my clear recollection.
Well, what I recall was it was about the 100,000 miles criteria. And you said, and I said, no, I thought that was an executive fund. I asked you why the 100,000 miles that you didn't know. You said, go talk to the chief. The way I recall it. And I said, no, I think you ought to have it. As it's an executive function.
And I did. I had that discussion. I reported back to the council and I thought the chief provided a reasonable explanation and I provided that information to the council. The council reached a different conclusion. That's fine. That's fine. And I didn't mean to start a fight with you about this. We've got a recollection that
Makes you run safe. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we are.
So to finish my point, I haven't seen anything. I've heard words, but I have not seen anything. Haven't seen options. Haven't seen any discussion on why 100,000 miles versus 102,000 miles versus 103,000 miles. Haven't seen any of that.
Okay, well, you're welcome to have that discussion with the chief and
I
I'll be
don't
glad.
want it with the chief. I want the mayor to come to the council with that information. That's the way it's supposed to work.
Well,
I
Frank,
think
that-
in general-
let me respond to that, if I could. I think that is a way for it to work. I'm going to offer an alternative approach, which is that you and I sit down with the chief and go through your questions. I can be the filter, but he's the one who's the expert. I'm not. I don't run a police department. We've got an outstanding police chief. Let me finish. We've got an outstanding police chief who does that. And I encourage and invite you to meet with me and the chief to have that discussion. The same for David, same for Don, the same for Sarah, all of us, the mayor, all of us. So that's where you're going to get the information. You're not going to get it from me at the same level of expertise that you're going to get it from the chief.
Well,
Mayor,
Doug, I haven't seen, but my point is, before I would have a discussion with you or with the chief or, you know, anybody, I'd like to see the numbers. They said they did some analysis of maintenance costs versus new, you know, and they have a whole bunch of words. But I'm interested in seeing the numbers. And
Okay.
once I see the numbers, I don't have any problem sitting down. with the
Okay.
chief.
Okay.
Done it over the years.
We'll get the numbers for you, but that's been provided, but we'll do it again.
Provided, but not, where have they been provided?
Well, I had a sheet of paper that I thought I distributed to the council that showed
No, I didn't.
mileage. All right. Well, we'll get you whatever you need. I'm not trying to hide anything. I'm trying to be transparent.
That's fair enough.
I'm trying to promote communication. I'm trying to have our police have good morale and recognize that they've got my support and the council's support. And that's what I'm trying to promote. I'm not trying to fight with you all. I'm not trying to undercut the council. I respect the council's decision. It's made the decision, and the decision was not to fund the vehicle. So now we need to go back and have that discussion. If the council's persuaded that we do need it, great, we'll approve it through some process. We'll amend the current budget or we'll have a capital budget. But that's what we have to do going forward. We can't go back and fix what I did wrong. I didn't know this was, I didn't really recognize the significance of this as an issue to the council until the council meeting.
But Doug, one of the impacts of separating operating costs and recurring costs from capital expenditures is that typically capital expenditures are more money, okay? And typically there's a justification.
Sure,
And that can be subjective, but it's also data driven.
sure,
So if you're going to spend a lot of money, you need some data as well as the subjective
sure.
to justify that. And that's any of them, police car or parks or anything we're talking about. And I kind of think that's where we're headed now. The notion of what I've heard is after 100,000 miles, our repair cost goes up. I think, I don't know that the council is sold on that concept.
Well, I agree. I think it is.
And that if there's supporting data that supports that, we need to see it.
Sure,
But just saying that is the reason, with capital expenditures, we need better information. We need data.
okay. Well, that's good. I think that's helpful. And what I'll do is arrange a time for council members who want to do so to sit down in an informal session. We need to be mindful of open meetings, but we'll have that discussion and get whatever level of detail would be helpful. I have no qualms about providing data. I think some of it, and perhaps I rely a little bit too much on the chief's experience and his outstanding performance. And maybe I rely a little too much on the fact that we've got $3.6 million sitting in the bank. And to me, as a layperson, I've got a car in Florida that's got 120,000 miles on it, and it's well taken care of, and it's a good car. I'm not sure it's ready to go out and be a police car anytime soon. So that's the kind of thinking we're all doing, and it's good thinking, but the chief's approaching it a little differently than we are. So we'll have that discussion.
We're spending a lot of time talking about the police car, and what I'm trying to make to, that's really capital expenditure, and that we need to kind of change the way we've approached it, and it's the subjective has been.
I'll support that process.
We need data.
I'll support that process.
Okay, and if you need in terms of, and I don't know how to do this legally, but for this year, we're just implementing this change, making the separation. By the way, I recall you and John wanting to set up a capital account.
Yeah, the last discussion I think you and I had was that I wanted you to chair a group to look into that. And instead, we've got a capital proposal.
We got it.
We got it. That's another example of a ready, fire, aim.
Right.
So we
No,
fired, now we're gonna aim.
It's ready for aim, right?
So,
To put excuse me, to put another point on that, we know, going forward, the chief mentioned that something about he needed 2 cars next year. I think.
yeah, I don't know that, Frank. I think
He said that.
what he may have said was he'll need 2 next year if he doesn't get 1 this year.
Well,
That's one
maybe
of the
that's it.
options.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's one of the options. But then we're also faced with, we have 3 other vehicles, 4 other vehicles that are going to require replacement
Right.
at some point.
I think,
And
I
I
think
would-
he's been replacing 1 a year is about the way he's been doing it.
Yeah, but
But
I'm talking about maintenance vehicles now. I'm talking about other
right,
high dollar capital issues that I would expect to see. Okay, these are the things we know about. It may not be in 23, but in 24 and 25, we're looking at these expenditures so that we can see, there's big expenditures coming.
we'll
So-
have that discussion. I
Yeah.
think it's helpful. I don't disagree with anything that's been said. So it's just communication and data, and we'll have that process and we'll do it promptly. I'll set up those meetings and we'll get a chance to visit with the chief about his point of view. So I appreciate all that discussion. So the motion on the floor is for a first reading of this.
Well, I propose an amendment,
Okay,
changing the words, some of which you suggested, but
sure.
the words that I sent back to John, I see they're not included here. And they're basically deal with section 3. Section 3, if everybody's got there, after the mayor shall, I'd like to put the word provide. This is a format issue right here, that. Then
Provide a call.
the mayor shall provide, and then A, cross out provide. B,
I'm sorry, I see. Section 3,
yeah,
where shall provide, okay.
and then cross out provide in A. Provide,
Okay,
cross out in B, a list of. And if any, the mayor shall propose sources of funding. That could be anything. I don't know if we have any discussion about that, but, it could be donations, it could be grants, it could be operating funds, it could be just about anything.
okay. Is there a second that's a motion to amend?
So,
One more.
so I want a clarification on what Frank just said. Are you changing the shall to provide in the second sentence in section 3?
For each proposed
You're
capital.
not doing it at the very top.
No,
You're not
no,
doing it.
here, right here.
Okay, all right, that's what I,
This
that's what,
section
I'm
3.
good. That's
Okay.
what I wanted to know.
And then
Yep.
on C, provide a schedule for the project. I think completion is not comprehensive enough, because if it's a long-term project, there should be cash flow projections associated with it.
Okay,
I don't know if others agree with that.
okay. Is the motion to amend is the second sentence of section 3 is amended to read, for each proposed capital project, the mayor shall provide, subpart A, the reasons why the proposed capital project is needed or desired, subpart B, proposed sources of funding, subpart C, a schedule for the project.
I'd like to insert just one little change. Under A, provide the reasons, including data, why the proposed project is needed or desired.
All right. So I will, is that your motion also, Frank?
Yes.
Okay, so that's a motion to amend, adding the word including data in subpart A and the other changes that Frank described that I just read. Is there a second to Frank's motion? To amend.
Second.
Okay, is there discussion on the motion to amend? If not, are we ready to vote? All in favor, please say aye.
Of the amendment.
This is a vote on the amendment.
Okay.
I will do a roll call. Frank?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
John Evans?
No.
And Don?
Yes.
Okay, that amendment is approved 3-1. Are there,
Is Sarah on?
I don't think she is.
Okay.
I got another text from her. He left. Ron, Sarah left a voicemail for you. So is there further discussion on the budget as, excuse me, on the ordinance as amended?
Yes, one, I don't have an additional amendment, but I don't disagree with your from time to time. I think time to time is a little broad, but I think what we have in here is a little too restrictive also.
Okay.
If you could,
Maybe we can work on. some
if you could
language.
wordsmith that such
We'll
that
work on that between now and, any second meeting we might have.
situations arise.
Okay.
So,
Is there further discussion on the ordinance as amended? If not, are we ready to vote? I'll start the other. Don Gibson,
Aye.
Mayor Evans,
No.
Mr. Holmes,
Aye.
Frank.
yes,
Okay, that, the first reading is approved by a vote of 3-1. So that'll move to a second reading. I had planned, we had scheduled a meeting tomorrow for a second reading. I think the urgency has gone out of this. I would suggest we pass this to the next regular council meeting. If that's agreeable with everyone, we'll cancel the special meeting that had been called for tomorrow. The next item on the agenda is the discussion on the applicants for the city council vacancy. And actually, that's not a discussion on the applicants. This is a discussion on the process that we'll be following to move forward with filling the vacancy. We received, I think, 5 responses from folks who are interested in filling that position. And I've heard discussion that perhaps it would be helpful to have the candidates come in and talk with the council, which I think is an excellent idea. And I would propose that we do that early next week or midweek and have a special meeting for that purpose. And then the council, and certainly we can talk about whether that would be helpful, and then talk right now a little further about the process that we'll use in selecting a replacement. So I'll open the floor for any discussion or questions.
I think it's a good idea, but I'm not going to be around next week's 4th of July.
It is 4th of July week.
Yeah, that's,
We've got until the,
And I'm not around the week following.
okay. We've
Then
got,
we've got until when?
I think,
12th.
the 12th.
So we've got to act on this. Can we do the call this week?
If we can get our, well, I know at least one of our candidates is out of town until July 1st.
Are you going July 1st? When do you leave?
What if we did something on the 3rd?
I think that's the 5th.
I couldn't.
The 5th. I leave.
Well, okay, so
What about doing something on the 3rd?
If we do that, could we make that, sometimes after 4 o'clock?
We do it anytime. I can make myself available.
I think from the candidate's perspective, I don't know whether they work or not, but they would be late, 7 o'clock or something like that. Would probably be more convenient.
I think so, with Sarah's work schedule also.
so what was the suggested date again? I'm sorry.
July 3rd at 7 PM.
That's fine with me. Frank?
Yeah,
Everybody can check their calendars and be included. I don't have my calendar with me, and we'll
I'm
work
good
out,
with that.
work out the date.
John?
and time.
Shaking his hand,
Yeah.
so that's fine.
John's good with that.
Okay, good. Well, that's the tentative plan, and if it falls apart, we'll go to Plan B. We'll sort that out. Any further discussion on the process for filling the vacancy? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
One thing before we adjourn, you asked for any further discussion. I'm trying to remember the last time that this procedure occurred. How they, when it came time to vote, how they proceeded to do that. And I don't know if this is the time to discuss that or not, but that's something that we have to decide.
Right, but the last time this happened, there were two nominations to fill the vacancy
Yes,
created by Sarah Odell's departure.
yes.
And the chair called the
We do it alphabetically or?
well, there were, at that time, as I say, there were only two,
Yeah.
so it was easy. So now we've got, I think what we want, I would suggest that whoever is selected receive a majority vote. And if that's the case, we may need to have a series of votes, drop off the low vote getter, and then vote on the remaining candidates.
That's the kind of thing I'm talking.
Yeah, I think we want, I don't think we want somebody elected who gets two votes. And when there's a possibility that a majority would form behind somebody different. And so I think we'd want a process of dropping the low vote getter and something along those lines. So we can reach consensus of what the majority of the council.
Whatever people decide is fine. I just think we ought to
We need to figure that out.
think about that.
And we can talk about it and then address it further on July 3rd.
Can we, just blue skying here, a ballot, that would fill out a ballot rating preferences or something like that, and it'd be passed and you could read the numbers and the top two or three and then go again. Something along the line where we
I think for open meetings, it has to be a discussion that the public can understand.
Yeah, I think.
So that would be like secret ballot.
Yeah, I don't think we're allowed to do a secret ballot, but I think the idea of some sort of preferential,
yeah,
it's not a bad idea. I just think we want to be sensitive to getting what a majority of the council wants and doing it in a transparent manner.
To John's concern, and I rely on Chris, our city attorney, on this. But in the other cities I was in for personnel actions, you could go into closed session, have a discussion, and then come out and take action on what happened. So you could have a discussion among the council
I don't
members.
think we can do that, but we check on
I
that.
think Chris can check on
Yeah,
that.
if you check on that.
I think for personnel action, you could, maybe for a replacement of a council person. But other kinds of hiring, firing.
Right, sure.
That kind of stuff. And this would be a hiring,
Well,
but maybe not.
I've
for-
seen the Attorney General's opinion.
No, and that's fine. I haven't.
Yeah, that I think it's an attractive option, but I don't think it's permitted.
And that's.
But we'll get the answer. We'll get the answer. Okay, any further discussion on that? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
so moved.
Okay, we're adjourned.
And
Thanks, everyone.
for the council's consideration, our chainsaw artist is at work now.
Yeah.